So welcome back folks, this is Shardul Gavande, and as in the previous session we have seen how practically our Android Studio works, where we were having our .java file which describes the interaction part of our application and .xml files which handles with the GUI part, that is the look and feel of our application. So in this tutorial we will understand how our Java and XML files work together to form a GUI and give response back to the user. So before starting, let's take into consideration, let's assume that we have a Facebook application on an Android device, and what happens when we open that application, how this Java and XML files are linked together. So let's start with the concept. So here we have our device, our Android device. So when you open your application, your Facebook application, it calls your main activity .java file. This main activity you can give any name you wish to give, but this activity is the default launcher activity which gets started when your application is loaded. As we have seen this, how to set your activity as a default launcher in a previous session. So this device will call the main activity, and simultaneously an object of this main activity will be created. So now what is the use of this object? So this object will call the layout file, or you can simply say as .xml file, which is associated with this .java file, because every .java file may or may not have a layout file, but most of them have layout files, or you can say the XML files. So this XML file will be called by this object, and then it will be passed on to this device, which is our Android device. So let's give it as a number 1, then number 2, number 3, and number 4. Now let's consider this as a user. This is our user. Now this is our screen, or you can say your device. Now this XML file which consists of the designing part. So what do we have when you open our Facebook application? We get a login screen, right? The very first, when you download and install your Facebook app, we get a login screen which pops up. So let's consider this XML file which has the login screen, which has appeared over here now with some parameters as username, password, and your login button. So now the user interacts with this login screen. Let's give it as number 5. So now he interacts with the login screen. That is he enters the username, password, and hits the login button. So now what happens when you click on the login button? If your username and password are correct, you will be redirected to your page, your profile page, or your home page. If it is wrong, then an alert dialog will be provided that please enter correct username and password. So now where does all these things happen? So these things, when you enter your details, it goes over here in your main activity .java. The background processing or the entire interaction processing happens over here in your main activity.java. So main activity.java has two important rules: to forward or to pass on the associated XML file which is inside this coding part, and also secondly to handle the background processing of this login screen or whichever screen it is associated with. The interaction part, that is what our app should do on clicking a particular button on user actions. So this will give as number 6. So if it is right or wrong, the username and password, so accordingly the response will be given back to the device on the screen. So this is 7, and then to the user. So in this manner, as we see, the main activity and XML files both are working together to form our app's GUI, which is by this file, and secondly to handle the background processing, which is through this main activity. Okay, So that's it from this video. Thank you very much and please do subscribe.